He can get it back to you. Bad about that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Ms. Cat.
Is he coming? Really? Oh, 6 o'clock Friday. Yeah, right. Coming out. Sound like a short guy.
Oh my God, if it's him, I guess I'm just gonna cry.
Oh, you're close. We were close. We were guessing who was going to
Smell me or what?
We were just guessing who was coming through the door. We're gonna wait one more minute. Scott's gonna lead our prayer, our pledges.
It's that.
What's that?
Clock's a little off.
Are we ready?
We got 5:59.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
30 seconds.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Hey Cheryl, it's pretty thick, Cheryl. That's weight.
Sorry, I like paper. All right.
Okay, notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on February 11th, 2025, at 6 p.m. at the district office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive, Friendswood, Texas. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and District Engineer Scott Sheridan is going to give the prayer and lead us in the pledges.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. We pray that your love shines through our actions as we do the work of the district, and that we always keep your plan for us and for the district in the forefront. And we pray that pray for peace on earth, and that we're part of that peace. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, justice, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Yeah, if the board doesn't mind, right before we go to citizen comments, I just want to introduce our new CEO and general counsel that started in January, and that'd be Paige Bailey. So Paige came from Olson & Olson. She worked for League City before that, and she had some private sector work. Samantha Herito started in December, a little bit before that, maybe even November, I can't remember, maybe before that. But she is our CEO of procurement for federal grant money. So she's our person when y'all citizens want to talk to somebody about hunting money from the feds, from the Corps, from the state, putting it together. She's the CEO of procurement. And then last but not least, Randy Rowland is our new superintendent who will be training on the job here and working in the new system. We're really excited to have Randy and all of his management and expertise with a lot of this technology that we're moving forward to. So welcome everybody on board. Citizens comments, 5 minutes per person. I have the sign-up cards right here. I'm going to let the citizens go first now, if that's okay. So Rick O'Neill, 1600 Morning Island Court.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Go up here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please.
Really doing a search, trying to find out who we talked to about this. But we live in the back section of West Ranch, butts right up against the new Legacy project. And there's concerns about the height difference in the properties and stuff like that. We live in the area right over there that's around the elementary school. There's commercial property on all sides. We're kind of in a bowl right out there on that one section. Anyway, so went through trying to find out who we could discuss this with, talked to the engineers in Friendswood, both of them, and then ended up calling and talking to somebody from your drainage district that worked with the gentleman that just retired, one of the engineers. And they pointed me to you guys to come to the meeting and talk about it, but talk with Scott and over here and come to find out we're not going to be able to get any answers for that here. The gentleman in the back here, he's going to Lake City engineer. He's going to probably help us out with that. So he's going to get some plans. I don't know how to read it, but maybe I can find somebody that does and point us in the right direction of how they're going to get rid of the water on that property. Because it's going to be an issue. It's pretty significantly higher than ours. And so that's all really I had. I'm not going to get any answers with that. I'll discuss this with him later and see if we can get the plans and get somebody to look at them and see how they're going to deal with water runoff. That's it.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Karen Prune, 1605 Morning Island Court.
I'm Rick's neighbor.
I figured that.
But I had a few different questions. So also in seeing the commercial, I met a woman that is one of the developers of a commercial property at West and Friendswood Lakes. And I asked her, I said, you gonna put retention ponds in there? What are you gonna do? Because she owns the property on both sides. And she goes, oh, I don't need to because the retention is already there. So I don't know where her property is draining to, but like he said, we're kind of in a bowl. And I kind of wanted to see, like, I know you guys approved the plans for all the new development. So let's say we look at the plans and they look good, but that's not really how it's working out. Who with the drainage district is overseeing to make sure they really do it like it's supposed to be done? What happens if it's not? Because what happened is, when they were building Westwood, they were flooding the park, Lake Friendswood Park. And so citizens had to complain to the city of Lake City and the city of Friendswood. And all that development back there on that row of houses had to stop till they corrected the drainage. So does someone from the drainage district oversee that to make sure things are working properly since y'all approved the new development? That's my question.
Citizens' comments is difficult because under the Public Information Act and Public Open Meetings Act, the board is not actually allowed to respond during this section or direct any answers directly to any of the citizens who are making these comments. But generally speaking, if there's an item of interest that keeps coming up or there's something that's raised, they can either direct a staff member to get with the citizen later, or during their board comments, they can make reports of things that are happening in the area. And so I'm sorry, but I just step in to make sure that.
I understand.
Yeah.
And then just one final thing, we moved there in 2018. And when we did, if you look at this riskfactor.com, we weren't flooding, we weren't at a risk for flood. Well, every year it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And as the new development plans come out, it seems to change. So now it shows our risk at a major risk. And I thought, okay, how did we go from nothing to a major risk? So that's another concern I have with all the development being approved. So I just want to make sure someone's overseeing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
Galveston County Consolidated District Engineer Scott and Matt, League City Engineer. Y'all look into that if you would and report back to the board on what's going on over there.
Yes, sir.
Matt.
And just as info, I've had some communication with them briefly here. They're going to submit a public information request to get their hands on the drainage plans. I'm going to give them some time to digest that stuff. And then if they've got questions or whatnot, I'm more than willing to have that conversation.
Okay, I just want to stay within the rules and talk to y'all, sir. All right, thank you. Loretta and David at Earlham, 4 Earlham Drive.
I don't really have anything to
No?
say.
What do you mean you had a lot to say when I visited you?
Well, I wanted to get a hold of Samantha today to find out what I should say if I said anything. And she was sick and I tried to call her cell phone and her mailbox was full. So I don't know what to say. So there's no sense trying to get up there. It
You sure?
it would be stupid to,
What's your concern?
Jesus.
Yeah, please come up and tell us what your
From
concern
the
is.
mouth of the family. Believe me, we went through the horrible experience during Harvey, like many of you did. We need our house elevated. We do not want to move. We love the area. We love our home. And that's what we want. And I want something from you that it's totally bonkers.
Okay.
I want to know how to get into Monkey Island.
Okay. It's not complicated.
Is that on the record?
It's not. All right. Don Johnson.
Well, I'll just make a couple of brief comments this evening because you've got a large agenda, so I don't have so much time. But the end of last month, I went to a couple of conferences in Austin, the Association of Board Directors. And that's something you might want to look into. I'm kind of giving this to you as future reference. They usually have a couple of conferences a year, and they have many educational programs at their conferences. And you can kind of pick through it. Looking just for drainage, you do have to kind of pick for it because they talk about, water pumps and water purification and all sorts of things that you might not be interested in. But they do have a lot of people there that are interested in drainage. It's also an excellent place to go to try and make connections with other people. It never hurts, to meet as many people in the industry as you can and find out what they're doing and what are their problems. And the AWBD is a good place for meeting those folks. The other conference was the Water Board Conference, Texas Water Board, TWDD, and that's a little bit different. That's not so much the operators at that conference as it is the attorneys and the engineers and the analysts at that meeting. And they have all sorts of educational programs that they put up. They have panels that they put up of experts, and they debate questions of, what's the best way to do this or that. And again, it's a great place to meet those kind of folks as you go through the year. Unfortunately, the Texas Water Development Board, they only have a conference every 2 years, and they have it right before the legislative session. But that does work out kind of good if you kind of get into that swing. You go up there to their conference and you're just down the street from the Capitol. And so if you have any bills that you want to push or if you want to find out what's going on with your local legislatures, you can always drop in on them and talk to them while you're there. At least that's what I do. I'm not sure how much they appreciate that, but it's proved to be very, very helpful in past years. So that's something you might want to take a look at down the road. How y'all might want to interact with those kinds of conferences and those kind of educational opportunities. I found it to be very helpful. So I thought I'd kind of mention it while it was fresh on my mind and let y'all know. So you can be looking forward to that down the road. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Rusty, can I speak as a citizen too?
Absolutely.
I didn't know I had to sign in.
This is Hank Doogie. He's our county commissioner for the area, for y'all that recently elected new county commissioner.
Yes. Thank y'all. I just wanted to say, I've been in several meetings with y'all now over the last month and a half, and I think they've been productive. I can tell that y'all all are passionate about mitigating flooding, protecting people's lives and property. And I think together, we're going to make a difference. So continue pushing. I think if we are able to bring everyone to the table like we have been, we're going to see some of these big federal projects come to fruition. It's not going to be tomorrow. There's going to be a process to it. We're going to do what we can locally with the dollars that we have. But I think we all know if you want to bring the water level down multiple feet during a flood event, we have to do some of these big things. So I know on the agenda tonight, you're going to be talking about gates and pumps at the lake. I don't know if you're talking about the ones at the bayou, but we have that in our kind of regional plan. And everyone I've talked to has been supportive of it. So I think if we're gonna make a difference, we've got to think big and we've got to continue to stick together. So I just want to say thank y'all. Keep up the good work. Paige and Sam, I've been hearing from them probably every 48 hours. So just know that they're working even whenever you're not watching. So that's it. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Hank.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Bree? From Mays Milton, you want to say anything?
I don't have any comments.
No comments from Mays?
No.
Okay, we had a conference call with them the other day, you know that.
Yes,
Thank you for being here.
thank you.
I owe you the photos.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So presentations, right here, we have Andrew Wan here, PhD, Associate Research and Scientist with the Institute for Disaster Resilience Texas, known as IDRT. Texas A&M University at Galveston regarding the Clear Creek and the gate operation at 146 and the lake level. So Dr. Wan, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Andrew Wan. As Rusty has mentioned, I'm a research scientist with the IDRT. I'm here with my colleague, Federico Angelini, who is also a research scientist with IDRT, and also Nick Diaz, which some of you have worked with before, and he's also on a related project with the drainage district here for mental support. This evening, we want to first thank the drainage district for giving us the opportunity to present a study proposal on hydrologic hydraulic analysis of the lower Clear Creek watershed, as well as focusing on the gate and pumpation optimization analysis for the area. Next slide. So brief outline about our presentation tonight. I'll begin with sort of like a brief background and motivation for this work. And then I'll talk about the statement of work, which primarily covers three tasks. The first of which is a review of the existing study put out by GLO and Army Corps, which is called Coastal Texas, which covers the design of the gate and pump system on Clear Lake. And after that, we are going to talk about a baseline model setup of a hydrodynamic model that can basically simulate the flood impact of those different gates and pump system and what it means for the area of concern, which is lower Clear Creek. And then we can use that model to perform various scenario analysis, looking at different pump station and gate optimization scenarios to further look at feasible options or configuration that can further mitigate the flooding that we find from the Coastal Texas study. And then I'll close with some logistics regarding the proposal, including the timeline, budget, and the team composition. Next slide. So some background motivation. As you are residents of the area, you're obviously familiar with the flood proneness of this area. Clear Creek watershed and also its surrounding areas are prone to flooding from various sources. And that includes from inland. You could have contributing flow from upstream areas, rainfall, and also from the coast, you have hurricane and storm surges, etc. So, like since Hurricane Ike, there has been a lot of talks, designs, studies looking at how we can mitigate, the flooding caused by storm surge in the Galveston Bay area. And one of the most prominent sort of idea or concept was at a time called the, Ike Dike, which is now called the coastal spine. However, more recent studies have shown, including the Army Corps' own studies, have shown that, the coastal spine on its own is insufficient to fully eliminate, the wind-driven surge impacts in Galveston Bay, especially on the western part of the bay, where you all are located. So following up from those observations or those findings, there have been several study proposals to what can we do to augment or further mitigate the flooding in those areas. And one of the proposal that comes out from a coastal Texas study performed by the Army Corps and funded by GLO as well is to propose a gate and pump system for Clear Lake. There are several others gate and pump system all throughout the area, but tonight we're only going to focus on the ones in Clear Lake. So that brings us to the objective of this proposal, which is to investigate, the flood impacts of these proposed gate and pump station on Lower Clear Creek watershed, as well as to evaluate any other potential configuration of these gate and pumps to further mitigate the flood impacts that we find. To achieve those objectives, we propose 3 tasks. Number 1 is to review the Coastal Texas Protection and Restoration, or also known as the Coastal Texas Study by the Army Corps and GLO for the Lower Clear Creek watershed. Number 2 will be to develop our own baseline hydrodynamic model using the latest data and the most up-to-date data sources and knowledge that we have. And based on that, we can then conduct a scenario analysis, looking more closely into different pump station configurations, as well as gate operation scenarios. Thanks. So the first task, review of the Coastal Texas Study. So that figure on the left is sort of like a screenshot from the web dashboard that the Coastal Texas Study published. And on the bottom here is the actual final report that you can, if you Google it, you can find it online pretty easily. So focusing on the Clear Lake gate and pump system, there are several components in this sort of like gate and pump configuration. So that includes, a floating sector gate for navigation. You have circulation gates to, ensure water quality and tidal flow exchange. You have like pump stations with 20,000 cubic feet per second capacity, as well as like flood walls. So that's the gate and pump system that's being proposed by the Army Corps. So in the first task of our proposal, we will work with experts in the field to basically review their report and what they state as the potential benefits of this gate and pump system. And through our modeling later on, we will also, be able to simulate the impacts of these gate and pump systems. So that's the first task. So task 2 is basically to develop or generate our own hydrodynamic model. So the figure on the left is a figure showing, the watershed boundary of both Clear Creek watershed as well as Arnon Bayou watershed. That's shown in the light black outline. And we're proposing that we will build a 2-dimensional hydrodynamic model focusing on just the Lower Clear Creek and Arnon Bayou watersheds. And that study area is shown in green. So that green area covers about 160 square miles, which is about 60% of the total aerial extent of both Clear Creek and Arnon Bayou watersheds. Starting from the upstream end, it's located near the Harris County Flood Control District, page 150, which is Clear Creek at the country club side. So the reason, before that, in developing this 2D hydrodynamic model, we will reference existing hydrodynamic models from HCFCD. These are the official models that are being used to put out the official FEMA floodplain maps for the area. So we will use those models as reference in building our model, our 2D model as well. Our 2D model will then be validated, calibrated against recent historical storms. We know, these areas flooded during Harvey, so one of the storms they want to calibrate, validate against will be Harvey. We are also going to use more recent storms because, the data sets have been updated since then. For example, the land use, the terrain, etc. So we would like to also validate our model against more recent storms. For example, Beryl that occurred last year. So next slide. So the reason why we want to use a two-dimensional model setup as opposed to using a more traditional one-dimensional model, which is what the existing Harris County models have been using and what's been shown in the FEMA floodplain maps, is that one-dimensional models are great in representing or accounting for flooding from the channel, so riverine flooding. So any type of flooding that occurs from the channel overtopping its banks, you can simulate that in a one-dimensional setup really well. However, its limitation is inherent in the model framework, one-dimensional. That means that water can only flow in one direction from upstream to downstream. And then because of this one-dimensional model, which is shown on the figure on the left, you see that the floodplain would be constrained by all those green cross sections. And then that means that when you get water in the channel, the floodplain extent will be constrained by the extent of those cross sections. So anywhere outside of the cross section, you will not have any flow information. So it can only basically represent riverine flooding, so one type of a flood driver. In this area, however, we know for a fact that there are multiple flood drivers, not just from riverine flooding, but also from pluvial flooding, or what we call local flooding, which is flooding caused by intense rainfall that overwhelm your local drainage capacities. And those could occur far away from the channels. So if we're using one-dimensional model, those type of situations will not be well represented. So in the two-dimensional model framework, your study area is represented by a series number of grid cells or squares. So each of those squares will have flow information and they can go anywhere within the model domain. And that means that it can represent not just riverine flooding, but it can also represent pluvial flooding. And in this case, that we also care about is coastal flooding from storm surge, etc. So that's why for this area, we think that generating and developing your own 2D model for your area of concern will be beneficial for not just for the current project, but also in the future. Slide. So here's an example of an animation showing how the 2D model performs or how it computes. And you can cycle through, well, this is an animation showing Hunting Bayou watershed in Harris County. But essentially, you can look at the flood hazard anywhere within the model domain, not just in areas that are just in the riverine floodplain. Next slide. So after we calibrate, validate our 2D model, we can then look at various baseline scenarios. Some scenarios that we would consider would be, what if there's only surge, 100-year storm surge, 500-year storm surge, what would happen? We can also look at rainfall only scenarios, the 10-year event, 25-year, all the way to 2500-year. And then the interesting ones, such as the compound scenarios, what if both occur, at the same time, at different times, what would happen, what would those impacts be? And we can do that with these framework. Next slide. So finally, after we, have a fully capable, versatile baseline hydrodynamic model, we can then move to, the gate and pump station analysis. So based on our findings from task 2, we would then select a few gate and pump station configurations to evaluate. And some of the performance metrics that we want to look at are, floodplain extent, number of structures or residential properties flooded, flood depth at, certain watch points or critical facilities, etc. And then we would also look at, different pumps and gates operations and, historical storms. What happened during Harvey? Or what if Harvey happened in, 2024 conditions or any other hypothetical scenarios. The HEC-RAS model, like the software itself, which is, developed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they have like different modules, like a pump station data editor. They have like floodgate operation rule modules that allow us to play with different configuration and different operations of these structures. So many of these scenarios would be possible to for us to like look into more closely which pumps and gate operations would benefit your goals the most from a flood reduction standpoint, from a target flow standpoint, flow velocity standpoint, etc. And we can use that knowledge to, optimize the number of pumps or capacities or costs, whatever, target performance that y'all decide. We can potentially look at those. So those are the 3 tasks. Next slide. Just some logistics. The total proposed project duration in our mind will be 1 year, so the full 12 months. And assuming that we can start sometime in the spring, we'll obviously first conduct the literature review, which will take a couple of months. Task 2, which is the baseline model setup, would take another 4 months, basically starting from like late spring all the way till the end of summer. Task 3 will start in the fall, all the way till the winter period of next year, and then finalize the project by the end of the first quarter next year. Next one. For our proposed budget, our total for this project that we estimate will be, 195K, and the bulk of the budget would go towards, the analysts, the investigators, as well as grad student that helps with data collection, lit review, and etc. And consultants that we mentioned that would potentially help review, the coastal Texas study work and provide any technical advice or feedback as appropriate throughout this project. It'll include, a little bit of travel costs since we would have to conduct, site visits, meetings, etc. And we also, with this total budget, we are including the 32% indirect costs as required by our university. So the 195K is the total proposed budget. So final slide. So here's the project team. Federico and myself will basically be the principal investigators. Our consultants and sub-recipient that I mentioned earlier will be Professor Bas Yongwan from TU Delft, as well as our Institute Director, Sam Brody. That's it for our presentation. Thank you for listening.
If you'll hold right there, Dr. Warren. Hey, I got a question for you. Sure. And I think a lot of the citizens, so while we have you up here, citizens are probably wondering, fast forward, because I know this is real preliminary, but fast forward in your mind, give the citizens a example of what they can expect in a good scenario and how you would apply. Let's say, here comes a storm and we're expecting 15 to 18 inches of rain, and let's just say 7 feet of surge. Okay, which would be a pretty significant in this area. It could be a lot worse than that. But just say 17 inches of rain, which is a lot of rain.
In what duration?
7 feet over a 48-hour duration. And let's say, so hypothetically, how would you see your proposal? What would you see being done with the gates? Tell the citizens what we do with the gates, with the lake level, And what would occur in your mind under a good scenario if you find what you think you could find?
Well, in that scenario, first of all, we can basically estimate the, flood impact of such a scenario. Like how far and how wide from each other, how wide, the floodplain extent is going to be, how deep the flood depth is going to be at, certain locations or any locations of your choosing, as long as they're within the modeling domain.
So what's your recommendations on what would happen with the lake level and the gates? Give the timing of what you would see happening with the lake level and the gates, knowing that storm's coming. And the data that you know that what's gonna happen.
Right, so there are two different things, right? You have the existing conditions, which is if you have the existing gate and pump operations, for example, here's what it would happen. So let's say in one of the critical facilities, based on that particular existing scenario, you're seeing 2 feet of water or 3 feet of water. Okay, now let's say we can play with.
I do not know what just happened. I apologize.
Sorry. So let's say, in existing conditions and, business as usual conditions, you're seeing at this location, you're seeing 2 feet of water, 3 feet of water. Then you have the opportunity to look at hypothetical scenarios. Okay, what if we, open the gate earlier? An hour before we are seeing this amount of water that is going to come from like this upstream gauge or whatnot. We can release water earlier so that it will bring, the channel elevation down. That means you have more conveyance, and then water will not, overtop its banks. And based on the scenario, we can basically optimize for, okay, we want to bring the water level at that particular location down a foot or 2 feet. That's something that we can look at, those optimization scenarios. That's something that's valuable using this type of framework. It's for the planning purpose. It's also for a post-event analysis, but it's also an educational product as well to play with. Okay, what happens if you do this? What happens if you build here? What happens if you retrofit this area or buy out this area? A lot of those applications are possible with this type of data. So the model itself is valuable, but the gate and pump station optimization scenario is a valuable application by having that to model.
I got a quick question for you, Doctor. Thank you for coming. Once we get through this process and your data is complete, your study's complete, what would be the next step? And we take to the Corps, we sit on their doorstep and say, we're going to give this information to you. So then they have to hire an engineering company to come design it, review them, and design it, and then construct it.
Potentially. Or they might say, we'll go back to, our own study and maybe adjust or modify their own given pump system based on what we found.
So you're giving them some more information that for them to evaluate.
Right.
Could those gates also just to let them, so could they also be, when they're closed, will they prevent surge coming back up Clear Lake Bay and coming down the creek?
I haven't performed that review yet, but if the gates are fully closed, I think the intention was to block off the surge. I don't know how much, by what percentage. I would assume it will, reduce the surge significantly. I think on their web dashboard, in the floodplain map that I showed earlier, the 500-year storm surge level, do nothing, you have basically flooding, like massive flooding throughout the entire area. But with the gate and pump system being deployed, the extent was like reduced very significantly. So I think the idea was to fully contain at least a 100-year level surge.
We've looked at I've looked at the industrial canal in New Orleans, and it's a smaller scale, but it works. I've seen it work in operation. I know y'all dealt with the Dutch,
Mhm.
who have a similar problem that we do.
Yeah.
And so, do they have such things over there in the Netherlands
They do
that they operate that are
much,
successful?
yes.
Would your model help us understand what benefit we would get if we put, let's say, 50 acre-feet of detention at the 2351 on Clear Creek?
So currently, this current proposal, we are not, considering tension basins at all. Although by conversations with like Scott, Samantha, and others, we are considering a third proposal, sort of like a follow-up study from this, that specifically could look at, local site level scale mitigation scenarios. So the attention basins are one thing. Other features will be nature-based solutions. Your bioswales, you might have rain gardens, riparian buffers, etc. So we are working on coming up with something with that regard. So, but that study would definitely benefit from having this model being fully operational, because we can put that in.
So Samantha is out sick today, but she sent me in a bunch of her notes about what she wanted to say about each item. So if I might share Samantha Parados's, our COO's thoughts on it. So this is the second of the two studies that we're coordinating with the Texas A&M Institute for Disaster Resiliency. The study that you're presenting tonight is directly related to the Coastal Texas Project, currently being designed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Gulf Coast Protection District. Unfortunately, the Coastal Texas Project is only authorized to look at the storm impacts from storm surge. So we're helping to change that, because it's not just storm surge that we're worried about, it's also precipitation and the combined effects of those two things. And so after this identifies the optimization and some of the best uses for both the gate, the pump systems, we also look at what happens if they were in place during Harvey, and kind of get a really good overlook of like, well, if they had been in place, maybe 98% of the structures, I'm thinking hopefully, like optimistically, would not have flooded. And as we know, those types of events are coming sooner and sooner, more closely together, and something needs to be done about it. And so if these look promising, she says that we'll have a good tool to lean on when discussing the correct approach with the Gulf Coast Protection District, with the Corps of Engineers, with the state, with the federal government, and have a better foundation of tools to show why this is so important.
Yeah. And to add on to that, even with no actual, engineering solutions being proposed, at the very least, this framework or this model will help provide a clearer picture of any flooding hotspots that you have in this area. And that will help in resource prioritization, evacuation planning, emergency operations, etc. That by itself, I feel like it's the obvious sort of benefit, even if absolutely nothing comes after the study. Having a clear picture of where your water is and where water is pooling, considering all those different interactions of rainfall and riverine flooding, as well as coastal flooding, is definitely something very valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd be looking forward to, I'd be looking forward to printing it and mailing it to every elected and appointed official that has anything to say about flooding and drainage in Texas, and then also to Washington, D.C.
And
So on the very small scale, this helps us do our job as far as finding projects that matter, projects that have value, what's worth actually doing. But on the larger scale, it doesn't just benefit us. You, with this data at this level, you could change the game for the entire Gulf Coast. This could be very instructive in updating Atlas modeling. Obviously, at the core, any number of things. It would never be data without application because this knowledge helps you. If we can't provide an engineered solution, then we have, don't build here, move properties, raise properties. Like, the engineered solutions are the big thing. Those are the pie in the sky things that we all hoped for. But this would be the gold standard. Like, this puts you on a map forever. So it would be a big deal for you guys as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that we personally, as researchers, are also very interested in. In tying with.
It may not be your trip to the moon, but it's pretty close.
It's one step closer to getting the scope of work to push this thing to happen. And maybe a scope of work that's, not the whole Lake Dike, but something that would help us with our flooding problems. And actually, I didn't know anything about this until I ran for this crazy office and a guy named Don Johnson who has tried to turn me into a politician. He's been unsuccessful, but he's the guy that originally told me about this whole idea. And we're been in touch with Dr. Brody, and I just think I'm solution oriented. And I think that, I'm ready to get to the point where, and I think I said when I first met with Dr. Brody and Rusty several months ago, let's design the dike and start sizing the pumps. Because I'd like to live long enough to see this thing happen. And anyway, Don, you have a question?
Well, I kind of did. I want to make a statement. I think this is the kind of data that somebody's going to eventually say, well, the Ike Dike is going to be coming up with this same kind of analysis and engineering. But the difference is, y'all can do that now instead of waiting 20 years for it to come up on the Ike Dike schedule. And once you have this data, then you've got a good case to present moving the gates and the pumps up on anybody's implementation schedule, whether it's part of the Ike Dike or the Lower Clear Creek project. So this is one way for y'all to jump ahead if that's what you want to do. You can wait, but some of us older guys aren't going to be around by the time they get around to doing this.
One more thing I'd like to say, our cost benefit analysis, our values that we bring is we're looking for a return on our buck. And it hadn't always been that way. When I talked to Dr. Brody, I said, so tell me about retention ponds. And I've said this before, it helps a very small geographic area. You guys know more about that than I do, but just suppose we could get this done, okay? And instead of having all these damn detention ponds for a contractor to dig, he could put houses or structures on it. Just think how much money that would save as far as land use, land purchase, et cetera. So
what David's saying is finally have a solution, a conveyance solution with volume somewhere for the water to actually go. And we have a question from Griffon coming up, but Hank and I met a long time ago in Dixon Valley Watershed before he was a county commissioner. And we talked about these big solutions, and he said it. Stay with us because these are big lifts. These aren't detention ponds and stuff that I'm sorry, that's not going to save you these 500-year floods and these big ones. Stuff like this will. And Don's right too. We can sit around and wait, but Hank and I talked about this, doing these bigger lifts in a shorter time frame. Jeff Berry was by the office yesterday. He completely agrees with that. But it's going to take not only some well-positioned politicians, but some citizen upheaval and some voices to get stuff like this done. It's not just going to happen. They don't just release dollars at funding, and we don't want to see what happens the next time this occurs. So I'm a big supporter of solutions that convey water and give it somewhere to go versus just digging holes and hoping your detention is going to hold up and the storm's not going to be too big, which doesn't work very well for us.
We have a saying in the aviation business, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different outcome. And you know what, quite frankly, what we've been doing isn't working. So we got to step outside the box. People seem to think that there's a political solution to these things. I don't think there is. I think there's a business decision. And I think you're seeing that in Washington right now. And so, anyway, I'm excited about this. And it takes a lot to get me excited.
We have one more question from Flat Tire Griffon, and then you, Hank. What, Jason?
Jason, can you gonna read it?
You got it, Scott?
If you can't, I'll.
No, it's not on mute for some reason.
Okay, so, Councilman Griffon, our council liaison, is friends with, has a flat tire, so he's texted in a question. There have been pump and gate studies in the past. Don was involved with Griffon on some of that. Will you be able to incorporate existing data, previous data into your modeling to not totally reinvent the wheel? Move to kind of get a head start with the existing modeling previous?
Absolutely. But obviously, I mean, our time and resources are limited. We would have to, decide as a group which existing studies would be the most appropriate or best for all y'all's bug to look at.
What's most
in more detail, right? So, but yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Are y'all gonna work with the Army Corps on this? Because they're kind of funny about if you're gonna incorporate it into one of their projects, you have to have kind of gone through their process. So
Currently, we have no official sort of channel to incorporate or interact with the Army Corps. What the data sources that we're using are what they put out publicly. So I feel like that's also definitely a better way to go because we could be more objective that way. And our findings would not be sort of censored by the Army Corps. Whatever good or whatever bad we find with their current proposed gate and pump system, we're going to show it to you all. Say, okay, it doesn't really work as advertised, or actually it performs much better than we're expecting. We want to be transparent about that. But to answer your question, we currently don't have any official sort of agreement to work with them. But
We may be a disruptor. I don't know if y'all heard that term lately, but sometimes you have to disrupt things to get things done. I know it might hurt somebody's feelings.
Hank, they've done some really impressive work that they can get you for some river studies up in Texas, some other things that I think show the legitimacy of the IDRT system at A&M and how well that they go about things and research it and do it. It's pretty impressive. I suggest, you read it, but that's a good question. But I think on the spirit of what we thought about, Hank, is we want, just like the silting study that Nick wants to do, Dr. Nick, we want to give them, they asked for that study. We're sitting there, they asked for that study. They asked for silting levels and they said, hey, if y'all can prove through core samples that the creek is silted in 25 or 30 inches, we'd like to see that. And we said, okay, and we kind of designed the study that Dr. Nick did to make sure that it incorporated that along with the riverine sections and his drone technology. This is kind of the second half to the study. And I think that information, and I agree with Andrew in a way that you almost want a different set of eyes and IDRT looking at this. I think maybe it could enhance, and it goes for the city of Friendswood, and it's more inland flooding based with the precipitation component, which we know down here, being from Alvin, from Friendswood, and Pearland, precipitation is a big factor in our flooding. And why it wasn't a big factor included, it's kind of mystifying because that's a big factor for us. I mean, we have just a little bit of surge and 25 inches of rain, which we can get, as we all know, makes a big difference. I mean, when you play with those variables, I want to see what happens.
One more thing, and I think we experienced this when we met with the Corps, and also I think Samantha's experienced it, is nobody asked. Like, you can't sit back and wait for them to come to you. They were delighted that we were talking about calculating, get the IDRT to study and calculate and prove up silting levels in the channel. So, it was they acted like it was Christmas when we brought that up. So I'm gonna take that we're gonna take that information and this information and go to them and say, okay, let's get with it, you know? When's the dredge showing up? You know, that's the bottom line. So anyway, good question though. I don't want to piss anybody off, but I'm not gonna sit back and wait for the status quo. I told you that when we met earlier.
Yes.
I want to see this before I'm dead. Okay, so I'm gonna push.
Based on the other engineering studies we've done in the price, this is very reasonable. And I'd like to know what our next step is.
Well, it'll be on the February probably agenda.
March.
Oh, excuse me, March. It is February.
I'm working with the contracting department because we are doing multiple studies with them and hopefully more in the future. They're setting up sort of a overarching agreement with where we could do like subsections for different studies. But I'm working with through A&M with that. So that's coming.
Yeah, that's
Thank
very
you.
good.
And Samantha will be looking at funding options to help with the taxpayer money, just so y'all know. We don't ever leave that out. That's why she's here, is to extract money to save y'all money. So thank you. Thank you. We're gonna move on. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, now we have a presentation by Cheryl Johnson, our county tax assessor. Thank you.
Good evening. My topic is not near as interesting as that. And so, but taxes are of interest to everybody. And you all received a packet from me, but you also received the information electronically. The most important things in all of this is the cover letter, which discusses the benefits of partnering with my office. And for me, should you decide to partner with us, we're going to do everything we can to help you to facilitate this and be a good partner. And then of all the exhibits, the most important one is Exhibit 1. The way that I have worked out my contracts with my entities is rather than having a local agreement that requires approval by Commissioner's Court, I have you exercise your right under the tax code and order me to collect your taxes, assess and collect. So there's a resolution. Should you decide you want to move forward, you would just simply adopt this resolution and we would move forward. All the services that we provide in that partnership are included behind that resolution. So it's several pages. The only items I did not include in your electronic package were the collection reports. They're somewhat tedious and boring, but they are included in this packet. Let me tell you the overall benefits of collecting from my office typically are cost. So we collect at a rate of 21 cents per parcel. Because of the collections you have the FISD, we would have to charge $1 per parcel conversion fee, one-time fee of $1. That is often paid by delinquent attorneys. So it could be that you get your delinquent law firm to pick up the cost of that for you so that you would not incur that expense. But your annual rate would be just under $3,000 a year. And what do you get for that? Well, I'm bonded. And so that bond is covered. You don't have to worry about that. I think that the most important thing for us, and I really wish the school district would come for us because then it would be all encompassing, is the convenience. The convenience for people to have a one-stop shop. Everybody is coming to my office to get their stickers. They're coming to my office to register to vote. They're coming to the office to pay taxes to me, but they also right now have to go to the school district. And if we ever get to the point where we have the person who's the expert in the field doing that service, then government can really get more efficient, save money. So if I was to collect for all 70 governments in the county and everybody only had to write one check, it would be so much better. Let everybody you worry about drainage, I'll worry about your taxes. All you have to do is worry about spending the money that I collect for you. So we'll see. I think we'll eventually get to that. I think Senator Betancourt has once again filed a bill to require school districts, for example, to come to the county for collection. And it'll be interesting to see if that gets any traction this year. I have 51 county resident full-time employees. We are in 4 full-time locations. That will soon be 3. You're the first really official people to hear that. So we are eventually going to have, by the end of the summer, we'll have the North County Annex in Lee City, a Mid-County Annex in Texas City, and Galveston. So we'll have 10 to 11 full-time employees on the county in those 3 locations. And then, of course, you know, I have an office in Friendswood City Hall that's open 2 days a week and then one on Bolivar Peninsula. We have one of the things that we think is really beneficial for your property owners is when if you have a problem with the CAD or you have a problem with your taxes, when you call our office, we're going to get on a three-way call with the county and we're going to solve whatever the problem is. Whether it's a problem with an exemption, a problem with whatever problem you have, it usually involves both of us. So we're going to try and resolve that in partnership with them. So it's usually, we're rather proactive in really getting to the root of it. We do not believe in passing you off and saying, well, that's a CAD problem. We actually take ownership for that and try and work with your customers. So we believe that the customer service that we provide is outstanding and trying to resolve those problems. When I resolve a problem with a county tax, it's also going to resolve a problem with your taxes generally. If I resolve your client's tax problem, then it's going to resolve it for all the other governments. We have 24/7 online payment services. We take credit cards, debit cards. We have a call-in service as well. We also handle those over the telephone. I have 6 members in my accounting department. So when you come to us, I have 8 people in my property tax department. We have 5 certified tax professionals. I have 2 designations. We have 2 others that are certified county collectors, and then 2 others that are like, and as I said, I have both are county tax office professionals, and I have 2 people that are working on certification. So you have a lot of experience and knowledge in my office with us taking over for you. We have over 140 years of experience in my office in tax and accounting. And so we really offer you a lot. We audit 21 audits a year of everything that we do. So you would have confidence in the fact that we are good stewards of your money. We collect about $450 million a year. So we're billing and we're collecting that much every single year, and we haven't lost a dime yet. So we hope to continue that to be the process. We have, when people send a tax payment to us, we have 24-hour turnaround on payments. So we like to get you your money as quickly as possible so you can get it in your bank account and collect the interest. So we try and make sure that money is turned around quickly. I can remember one of my first experiences when I took office was a gentleman called and he said, you have to find my tax payment. And I said, well, when did you mail it? He said, well, I mailed it in November. He said, my wife thinks I have money. Oh, this is January. He said, she thinks there's money in the bank and you've got to find that check and cash it before she spends it. So I was able to track down this payment. It only took me about 4 hours because there were about 40,000 payments waiting to be processed when I walked in the door. We went from a 3-month processing on tax payments to the 24-hour turnaround. So we're really proud of what we're doing. We have won awards. We are in the top 1% of all county tax offices with regard to the audits we perform, the customer service that we provide, and the fraud prevention that we perform. So I'm also very proud about that. One of the things I think that you have great interest in is, I'm not going to be involved in your business. I would like to see on your agenda where you're accepting a receive and file on the tax collection reports, because this is, a lot goes into it. And this is the money that funds the predominant, what you do. And so I think it's good for you to at least see every single month that money coming in, what's the delinquent tax balance, and have that awareness. You don't have to discuss it. You can just receive and file. Okay, they're sending us our money. We're happy with that. But I think I heard a lot of controversy last year on tax rates, and we calculate taxes for 40 jurisdictions. I've already prepared the worksheets that we would need from you to begin calculating your taxes for next year. And that's in your packet, as well as the calendar. So I'm going to give you a calendar. You can do whatever you decide, but these are suggested timelines so that you have an idea of what you need to do. I think this is actually, the 7. So we're already working on this. We know the legislature is going to make some changes, but every single year after we help everybody adopt their tax rates, I immediately go to the manuals that I have and what do we need to update to make this better for our jurisdictions? From the time we get the certified roll until we provide numbers to you is going to be about 4 or 5 days. And so you're going to have what you need. You're going to be able to adopt your rate, get it out of the way as quickly as you possibly can. If you want to wait around for a while, you can wait. You must adopt your rate by September 30th, because we're going to get those bills in the mail just as quickly as we can, usually by the end of the first week of October. And then we start collecting. We do offer payment options that I'm not sure that the school district does. Anytime the governor declares a disaster, I allow disaster installments. So that's 4 equal installments, just like a senior payment or a disabled person I'm hoping that the Texas legislature is going to allow that for all property owners in this session, because I think it's a great benefit. We have about, I'd say 40% of our property owners in Galveston County that pay the taxes out of their pocket. And if they can make that in 4 equal installments, I think that that's easier for them to pay than it is to make that lump sum payment. We also accept split pay. What's the advantage to that? You're going to get your money faster, and there's not going to be any penalty when people pay that second payment in June. Typically, people pay us the second payment whenever they get their income tax. And so usually that money comes in sooner rather than later. At the end of the day, we stand ready to do whatever it is that you need. And we hope to be a good partner for you. It's up to you. I understand there's some expense involved for you. But, you know, let us know what we can do should you decide to move forward with this.
Questions? How long are you gonna be around?
How long am I going to be around? Well, at least another 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
What's your succession plan?
Yes. And I will tell you, I'm the longest serving such a collector in Galveston. So, you know, and I ran that one more time. It's like, I've got to make this. I've just got to do more than 20 years. And as long as I can stand to pound those posts, I think that you're going to be stuck with me.
Questions? Question?
Yeah,
I like it all being consolidated. I pay property taxes in Brazoria County. Send it to them and I'm
All
done.
done.
I
Yeah,
don't have to go jumping around to different offices.
I agree. It makes sense. And hopefully we can convince other governments. I think there's a turquoise mentality on tax collections. Everyone thinks they have to be in control. What they need to be in control is what they do best, and they need to let us collect and let them spend.
it's 21 cents a parcel what you charge everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The only thing I charge more for is like Friendswood has property in Harris County. We collect for them on that side. That's 97 cents. You'll see a policy in here showing how I determine that amount every year. The more entities I collect for, the lower that rate can go down. When I first took over, it was 62 cents, and each year I analyzed that and we brought it down to 21. And it's 97 cents for the Harris County properties that we collect for. So it's still the best deal in town. I think private collectors charge about $7.50. So.
Cheryl, thank you. As y'all probably all know, I'm not a big fan of everybody. That's probably not a shocker. I'm a fan of Cheryl because Cheryl has helped me through a lot of tax questions. She didn't have to, and I can call her, and she's been a good servant to the county. She has energy, as y'all can tell. I have energy too. She might be up there with me. I don't know if she can catch me. She's close on the reactor power. You might not quite be there, but you're getting close. But she has energy and passion, and she's been a great public servant, and she's been so educational to people. I think it's somebody Paige and Randy and everybody. We can ask questions and get straight answers in quick fashion to serve the taxpayers and get it consolidated. I believe the county already collects taxes, of course, county, city of Friendswood, and it will be on our our March agenda. Yeah, March, is that right? March agenda, and we'll be able to discuss this further. But thank you for coming.
Thank you. And I will tell you, the city of Santa Fe made the mistake of asking me to explain truth and taxation. An hour and a half into it, I explained every single calculation after I finished it. They never invited me back again. I'm going to ask any more questions, we trust you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much.
All right. Number 6, discussion and action items. Approve or deny the final plat of Westland Ranch, section 6A, development of an 18.369 acre tract of land. The plat meets the district requirements, and a letter of no objection from the city of League City has been provided. Y'all want time to pull this up on the computer or the supporting documentation? Scott, do you have any comments on this while we're looking at this?
Maybe not.
Matt, you want to show us or?
District has it right away, just to the north of it for Dixon Bayou bypass. Mr. Jim did have a question about that. We determined that the drainage impact analysis set that limits. And that was approved by a previous board, I think close to 10 years ago. So that's been ongoing development. This is just the expansion of that. It's consistent with their drainage impact analysis and their master land plan as well.
Okay. Any questions from the board from Scott?
Move to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, approve or deny the final plat of Westland Ranch 6B G230103. It's the development of an 18.244 acre tract of land. The plat meets the district requirements and a letter of no objection has been submitted from the city of League City. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second,
Sorry, second.
here we go.
Can I
Scott,
open my computer?
anything else on this one, on this 18.244 acre? We are looking.
Yeah, same scenario, it's just to the east of 6A. Again, north is the bypass, Dixon bypass channel. 190-foot right away that the district has in feed right now. It is consistent with their approved drainage impact analysis and their master plan.
Questions from the board? Motion to approve? Make the motion.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, C, approve or deny 405 Laurel Regional Detention Request. It's a proposed redevelopment of an existing 0.1597 acre commercial tract of land at 405 Laurel Lane. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, and can I, Paige, I can include B on this, can I? The district engineer recommended a good candidate for detention.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, let me add that on there. So, Scott, you are recommending this as a good candidate. Do y'all know where Laurel Lane is up in town? Kind of back off the main street. Everybody familiar with it, where that is? You have a map, Scott.
Yeah.
And this was rezoned to city, to downtown district at council the other night.
This is the 0.289.
Wasn't this rezoned? Was this the one rezoned or not?
I believe so.
Because not the one that's close to it.
Okay, is it or not, Scott, or was it a different one?
I'm not.
Is that 03 or 05?
Depending on the rezone hill.
Yeah, it was rezoned to downtown drinking or downtown district.
Downtown district, right.
Yes.
But this is 0.0455. This is 0.289. Is this different than
This
this
is
one?
1597, Jason,
Oh,
0.1597. It's the same one, Hill?
there were two.
You know, Jason just brought up a good point. It may have been the next property over.
Okay.
There was one property that was.
Because there's adjacent properties, they're trying to make one to put the building on,
Yeah.
but the 289 was different than this one.
Correct.
But they're both downtown district and they're eligible, Scott,
Yeah.
for regional detention.
Yes.
Okay, so
So, Jason, when you say 0.0455 acres, that's just the increase, that's the increase in impervious cover, so it's a minute amount, so I assume it's the same parcel. I haven't seen anything on anything else in the area. That's not saying that there's not something going on, but this is the existing layout. You'll see the property boundary here, existing impervious cover, the concrete pavement here, existing garage, and I believe a house, some sort of building. And then this is their proposed layout, parking up front, building, and then perimeter swell. So
it goes along with what we've been doing the whole time. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, D, approve or deny the final plan for the COF lift station number 4, City of Friendswood proposes improvements to lift station number 4. The plan would require a demo of the existing impervious cover, elevating controls and replacing the driveway. The plat meets the district's requirements. Motion discussed?
Second.
right,
Where's this one at, Scott? Is this,
just right at the end of the runway there at Play Ranch.
you know, I think I saw you up on the platform the other day on this one. Is it, or you wrote, no, you wrote on one in Oak. I can't remember. This is the one at the end of Pollock Ranch on back
On the
behind.
Maryland Drive.
Yeah, back by my house.
There you go. Here's
Yeah, there's two of them.
There's the landing strip there, and this is the piece of property or the location. The district does own adjoining property right here that they recently purchased. The city is gonna give us a new concrete driveway, trying to differentiate the two parcels, it looks like. Go back to the existing condition here. You'll see that there was one driveway kind of to the lift station to the property, and they're gonna split it up, new concrete. Then there's the platform to elevate the control panels and the generator so that it's not inundated during a flood event. You don't lose operation of the lift station.
It gets deep back there, Hill. Y'all better get it up. Okay.
The platform is set right at the 500-year water surface elevation, so the controls will be above that elevation. They went off the Harvey elevation, I believe.
Correct. That's good.
They observed that elevation, set the top of the platform at that elevation, and of course, the electrical components are going to be above that, my understanding.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. E, discussion consideration for approval, letters of support and commitment needed for the project applications for a full 50% local match. It's for the Black Hawk inline and offline detention engineering design project. The Lower Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou feasibility study, Clear Creek and Clear Lake sedimentation study, and the Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou pumps and gate study. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Paige, or you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'll do my best to convey Sam's notes. So she says that, so we're looking for up to 50% funding match from Harris County Precinct 2 through their projects, partnership projects program. And we met with Harris County Precinct 2, League City Commissioner Hank Doogie on a call for support for this project, kind of explaining to Harris County Precinct 2. The representative from Adrian Garcia's office, Harris County Flood Control District, on a call, all of us together on Monday, talking about these 4 items and kind of what we're looking to do and why we're wanting to partner with them through this program. And so the first one, the Black Hawk Inline and Offline Detention Engineering Design Project. If we're looking for up to 50% of the funding match from Precinct 2 for engineering, that comes to about $800,000 on their part, or 1.6 million together. Any participation is great. Galveston County does have this program or project in their upcoming bond program, but we really are looking at any and all possible sources of funding for this, because why would you leave money on the table? The Lower Clear Creek Dickinson, Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou feasibility study, we're looking for up to 40% match from Harris County Precinct 2 based on, I think, where the boundary lines of where the precincts and where the Harris County and Galveston split on this. The total cost for the study is $3 million. The 40% match from them would be $1.2 million. The Clear Creek and Clear Lake sedimentation study, the direct costs are $261,000, requesting up to 50% from Harris County Precinct 2, which their share would then be $130,950. And for the Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou pumps and gate study, the total cost for that is $195,000. And we're looking for 50% match from Precinct 2, which would be $97,500. Essentially, as part of the application process, they require these, what they call letters of support and commitment, as just another one of those documents you upload that the district has said, yes, we're looking for this percentage of these different projects if you fund any of them. And if you fund that part, we fund the other part. And our other part, our local match to that can be conglomerated from other partners as well. And so that's what this item is about. So staff are recommending approval.
So we're just to capsulize it for the board. Tell me if I'm wrong. We're just looking for an upvote to allow y'all to get get this information and get going on asking for these local matches.
Yes, because I know that even if Precinct 2 Harris County is not interested in partnering on, for example, the IDRT studies, that we are interested in funding them in-house. But of course, any ability to partner with communities and other local entities is great to share the costs.
Hank, what did they say the other day when I was talking to them? I wasn't on that call. What did they say when you talked about one of these? Did
They seem interested. I have a follow-up with the commissioner in March.
Ooh, the treasurer goes all that far out to March.
Yeah, so I'm gonna meet with him in March, but during phase 1 of the Lower Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou study, Harris County Flood Control District was one of our largest partners, and I think they're interested again. Y'all been creating a good relationship with Precinct 2, and I guess their partnership project program, Harris County Flood was there also. So whether it comes from Precinct 2 money or Harris County Flood Control District money, they sounded interested. but they have to work it through the bureaucracy. So my take is that they'll be supportive and contribute towards the Lower Creek project. They've done that already before. The other three I don't know as much about, but I guess it depends on how many other priorities that people are requesting. So
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed. So
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
I got one
Oh,
question.
go ahead.
If we approve this, are we locked into commitment to spend money? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
F, discussion and consideration of the elevation project via the hazard mitigation grant program for Earlham. It's up to $250,000 from FEMA, and the district would contribute any additional needed funds. Motion to discuss.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so this is another Samantha item. She says in her notes that the home was completely redone after Harvey. They put lots of money into it from their own pockets. They moved into the home in 2012, but know that the flooding depth seen in Harvey was also seen during Claudette and Allison, and they do not want to flood again. The federal funding should cover up to $250,000. Samantha thinks the budget will be really close. If the board this is where we're asking for the board to cover the remaining costs of the elevation project should it exceed $250,000. But we could always wait to decide on this for the exact numbers until we understand the total cost a bit better through the design part of the project. But we believe that this strongly supports the mission of the board of directors and is a fantastic project to do in general.
Just raising the resident.
It's an elevation project through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And FEMA loves to do projects like this.
I think this is a good test. And yes, I think it's prudent to wait for numbers, but I think this is a good test case to make right here. And if we can maybe, and the board needs to comment on this, if we can get some actual numbers and see what we could do. Scott and I have long been proponents of elevation of structures in harm's way, especially as we do these conveyance type big projects. There's always going to be a need. And like I said, go look at the board president's house in Friendswood. I'm 9 feet off the deck. Does that tell y'all something? I'm right there by Polly Ranch where that lift station is. That's what I think. And I went off Harvey too. So Hill, I'm with you, bro. Went off Harvey too. So I think it's a good idea, but I think having real numbers and seeing where they come in and then maybe going from there is more prudent than just committing blindly. Because I mean, as much as I'd love to raise every house in the district, I don't think we can just commit blindly for one resident without knowing kind of what we're up against. And they've been very vocal, and I've been down there, but this could be kind of a test case. And it's always good to be the test case. And you know, we've long talked about people. Really, I wouldn't mind if the citizens would honestly just everybody put in and get a list going page of all the citizens in Friendswood who would like their house raised, and let us bring that when we go for grant money and show them what we're looking at in the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District.
Maybe we can design some type of survey or media outreach.
Yes, that pulls directly into an item on G that talks about the hazard mitigation plan goals and strategies. Because as part of that, there is a survey that is linked to a QR code that we gave out at events like at the Touch a Truck event. And Samantha was talking to every single person who climbed, every parent who climbed into our dump truck with their children, talking about that specific hazard mitigation plan, because that's where we get the feedback for people who are interested in things like elevation projects. So
back to F. Let's go back to F. So on F. So I guess my motion is to get more get the numbers through Samantha. I wish Samantha was here. I'm sorry she's not here tonight and she has a fever. But my motion is to get additional numbers and additional information, and then bring this right back to us or him, and make that maybe the pilot program for us going forward, how we design it or what we do for the citizens of Friendswood.
I'll second that, but I also would like to say that that's the biggest benefit for our dollar of anything we're talking about.
Yeah, Scott,
Is this y'all's place?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. Jim.
Well, one thing it does, it not only helps y'all, but it also gets something out of the way. It gets property up and out of the way, so.
Yeah.
it saves y'all, plus it, helps with, conveyance. Thank you.
Like Jim said, I mean, preaching to the choir, I'm 9 feet off the deck on Butler, right by the creek. So I'm a big believer in conveyance and giving the flood water somewhere to go. That's going to help the builders, commercial, it's going to have tax base, it's going to help people alleviate traffic, extra money, but you got to get these structures up that are in existing flooding areas. It's a two-way solution.
Do you have a contractor you're talking to about what it costs to raise it?
We talked to someone, years ago.
It was, yeah, we gave it to Samantha, I think it was 2020.
Okay.
Eons ago.
So we'll have to get an updated number, I'm sure, Sam.
So-
on that.
Yeah.
We have a motion, and a second to get more additional information numbers and bring it back up. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay. G, discussion and consideration for approval of the hazard mitigation plan goals and strategies 2025 flyer. The question and answers. Got a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Paige?
Sure. So we touched on this briefly at our last monthly meeting, and y'all wanted to see a rewrite of the language because it was a bit clunky. And so I took a stab at rewriting it, and then I also ran it through some AI programs just to make sure that it sounded the best and possible, most concise we could get it for our hazard mitigation plan or materials. And those are in the shared folder, but I can also walk through them individually as well. There's not too many.
Well, let me ask you, as the board, have you all read through this? I've read this. Have you read it? Okay. Does anybody have any objections or any that without her reading all the way through it? So we can move this meeting along. Everybody who makes it.
Yeah.
Question, Jason, Kim? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Wait, we had a motion to discuss. We
Oh.
don't have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So it can be unanimous. H, discussion and consideration of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District Master Plan Grant application via the Federal Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. It's up to $900,000 available for the master drainage plan. It's a $900,000 federal and $100,000 local match. And it's up to $300,000 available for repetitive loss. Severe repetitive loss strategy is 100% federal funds. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion. Second.
Paige, explain this, what we're looking to do here.
Okay, so if we have a master drainage plan, we can apply for a federal grant, or we could write up an RFQ and bid it out ASAP. The issue is the expected cost for this is between $1 million and $1,400,000. So if we wait for the federal funding to come through, we're looking at like we're looking at like a year and a half before we actually see the award, which then you'd have to start the bid process and get a vendor lined up to do it. And so it's like a 2 to 3 year process if we just go through the federal funding. If we did it ourselves, we'd have to eat the cost, but that is something to consider if we're looking to move faster. The staff recommends we go out for the master drainage plan through the FEMA grant program because of the cost and all of the other items we're trying to accomplish, but we can always reprioritize if the board desires.
Scott, you have thoughts on this, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that's pertinent. I know the city is working on, City of Friendswood, that is, working on their master drainage plan. They're gonna look at a few things for GCCDD. But there's some things that we need to look at as a district as a whole, right? Our entire boundaries with required right-of-way widths. We're gonna use this to kind of do some conceptual planning on potential detention ponds and benching projects. And that'll help set a base for our capital improvements program. And we'll be able to rank them and see what we could do and kind of have some conceptual numbers and put it in order of what we can get done. So, again, you saw with the city, they're ready to go. They should have had their plan done in December of last year, but then they had to put the brakes on whenever FEMA did award them the grant money. And how far along are you now, Hill?
We just had the kickoff meeting.
They just had, so they're over a year behind of where they were originally when we were gonna help them fund that. So it's up to the district, you know, it's pertinent information, I think, as we plan to help reduce flooding. You know, can we afford to wait a year or maybe 2 years, right?
Well, this, I mean, we talked about this, our CIP programs, which are important to prioritize and to list, and we're gonna talk about that later with these locals, Jim, what we have to do, and that's gonna be part of it too. When they're all coming together, Scott, and we're looking at all our capital improvement projects and how we want to rank them, how important is the timing of this? I mean, we know it, but how important is the timing of this master drainage plan going to be in ranking these projects?
We need to have it before.
So, yeah, I'd say that.
Ideally.
That's what I want to hear from you.
I'd say that, but then just for example, getting proposals together for some property over on Dixon Bayou that the board's interested in. Just the conceptual study and a scenario to see if it's worth it is going to be about $215,000 because we don't have a model for Dixon Bayou. When we do this master drainage study, it should create a model for the whole district. And if it's timed up right, which if we start it now, it won't be timed up right, but maybe they could use some of Andrew's study that's going to be done in a year. So maybe we do have a year to wait. You know, you could potentially kind of merge that. Maybe we don't. I don't know what the solution is there, Rusty. You know, I think you're always going to have that situation where you're either waiting on money or waiting on something else, or you could just move forward, you know, and make it happen.
So board, it's $1 million. You know, if we can get any local match or get any money, it's $1 million we estimate to get this done. Is that correct, Scott?
Samantha estimated 1 to 1.5. Yeah, 1.4. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a good chunk of change. It's important.
Cities is how much, Hill?
Ours is gonna be, all in about 1.8.
1.8. They're looking at different things, right? Interlocal flooding and stuff like that.
Yeah, one thing to note here, Scott kind of alluded to it. We do have the things that we'll be looking at on behalf of the drainage district, but there is going to be a limitation on what we do. The real cost is when you start considering the boundary conditions. So what we're looking at is going to be contained within the city of Friendswood. We're not looking at what's happening in Leak City in addition to that, and what's happening in the Dickinson Bayou. So that whatever we get, that's going to be an opportunity for you guys to build on.
Yeah. Remember, we saved $400,000, so we do have $400,000 in our possession that we were going to kick out to the city of Friendswood to help with the portion. So let's say it did run up to $1.5 million, $6 million, $400,000 of that was gone. So we're looking at really $1.2 million that we'll have to budget to get all the answers we need. That's still going to be, what do you think? Take 12 months out?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we should have Samantha, I mean, the board question, Samantha not being here is not good for some of the questions we have for this. This is important. It's a lot of money. We can put this on the March agenda if y'all feel, and y'all discuss this, we make a motion. If y'all feel like y'all want to ask, because I think you should chew on it and ask Samantha questions all month and kind of digest the CIP projects and what we're going to pass later and ranking these things, how important this could be, but bring this back up and make a decision here soon. But I want all the questions asked, and I want everybody to be here to answer them. So go ahead. Any thoughts you'll have on that?
So is the option to go ahead without federal funding or wait till we have federal funding?
If we wait, Jim,
Offsetting a year.
right. If we get federal funding, we'll offset the cost. But at what time frame are we willing to give up to do that? Do we want to? And that's what Scott and I have been banning around. Do we sit around? That will affect. Go ahead. It'll affect how we rank these capital improvement projects. It'll have an effect on that.
I mean, I think the city made the right decision, but just projecting this out, they just had their kickoff meeting. It's going to take them 12 months to develop that. So now they're 2 years behind their original projection of having it done, right? So.
Well, could we go forward and still get the grant and use the grant to offset our expenditures?
What, they were on that, they had already gone out for RFQs. They're about to award it, right? And then you got the federal grant. You had to go back out for RFQs, right?
Correct.
What happened. Because remember, we ranked we were all, we helped rank the people that submitted their qualifications, and they were right there on the 11th hour. And then they got word that they got funding, and it made sense for them to do it, right? Because they're right there with it's just the process. We could make it and wait on that and never get the funding too. That's an option too. We might not get the federal funding. So.
I didn't understand the answer to my question.
Okay.
Can we go ahead and spend the money, apply for the federal grant? And can it be granted even though we've progressed and use that money to offset our expenditure?
I don't believe so.
Isn't the grant specific to
I
it?
believe we have to start the process over.
Yeah.
Bill, when you got your grant, I know there's a book about that thick with what to do and how to do it, right?
Right.
Did you show me that? Yeah. So
Samantha says no. The answer to that question.
That's what we
have to
submitted.
restart the process.
Because there's process you have to follow from the federal grant.
And she is watching online, and she offered to come in wearing a mask, and I'm like, man, you have a fever. We don't want you in the building.
Yeah.
So Samantha's saying negative to Jim's question, that if we start the process, we cannot receive grant money.
Right.
Correct.
Without
Regardless,
starting over.
we can wait.
Without starting over.
Right. Regardless, we can wait a month to make this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I don't think we should, I don't think right now we should make a $1.8 million decision without deliberateness, at least for a month. I mean, I think a month, if you're asking lots of questions, and Sam and Scott and Paige, and we're all available, I think that's enough time. But my motion is to put this on the March agenda, but I will encourage the board to please be very proactive in ferreting out all your questions and have them ready in March to have a robust discussion, whether we're going to get this done or not.
I'd like Samantha, in the meantime, to look at between the Galveston guys and what Frenchwood's doing. Will that take care of Clear Creek watershed for master drainage plan? And we just look at Dickinson.
She can look at that, but she also says there's an option to phase it. So if we do the master drainage plan in phases, which what exactly that means, I think is a Samantha answer. We could pay for phase one ourselves, and then when it comes to phase two, get the federal grant money and move forward after that. But do you know much about that?
Yeah, these are
I think phase one would be like Dixon Bayou, we'd pay for ourselves potentially, and then come back in, whatever wasn't covered on Clear Creek from the other entities, we would go to phase two and then try to mesh the two together for a master.
Let's move on, because these are exactly the options we want to hear about and have capitalized for in the next meeting, and not try to shotgun this right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to get my arms around what project, what's our list? What's our list of priority?
We won't know that.
Yeah, that's what that's going to identify with.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion for us to have a robust discussion this month, and for everybody to bring all the questions, and for the staff to have this capsulized for us in options and spending for the board. And I'm sure the board will come more. So that's my motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks. Please make sure that's on the March agenda.
Yes, sir. I have it written down as a presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Discussion and consideration of amendments to the district criteria manual, adding the definitions, appendix G. Has everybody had a chance to look at those? Any discussion on that? Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Scott, for that. That was nice. I appreciate those. J, discussion and consideration of the interlocal agreements with the city of Friendswood. A, Deepwood, B, Frenchman's Creek, and C, Clearview. And we can break them down, Paige. You can go one by one. So you can start with Deepwood and go from there. And then any questions we can ask you.
They're all very similar for the form of agreements. The agreement will look very familiar because it's almost essentially what y'all reviewed in October and was on the agenda. I changed Just a few sentences of language that makes it extremely clear that after we study it, if we don't find significant benefit in the project, we do not have to proceed. And we can just stop there. But other than that, I mean, gosh, I wish it hadn't been like this, but it took nearly 6 months to get the information that I needed in order to put it back in front of y'all. So I hope that y'all and the public understand that I wasn't delaying things on purpose or trying to kind of blockade between the city and the district. But I needed to make sure that the language that we had in the agreements between our entity and the city were appropriate and fully encompassed and had a good understanding of all of the city's restrictions that they were having from the grant program and from FEMA so that we could make an informed decision. And so this is what y'all have in front of y'all, and it's interlocal agreements with the city of Brentwood for these 3 properties. It essentially says that we're partnering with the city and that we're paying for studies to see what makes sense for each of these properties. And then when we come up with these models and it says that there's significant benefit, we can proceed if we want to.
And I'm going to add to that. And like I said, I'll take the heat for this because I have a new board and the board wanted some different considerations on the interlocals. Paige, back when she was with Olson was asking questions, and it's no big deal. They weren't answered very quickly. And then the other answer wasn't answered very quickly, and it just took time. Once she got the answers, she quickly was instructed, and always has been, to get this in ink and get it back to the city, which she has done now. It's pretty much the same as it was with a few word changes. I think some shalls instead of something else on there. But if y'all read through these and they're in your packets, I think they're pretty straightforward and not material different from the ones that we've done in the past. It just took us a while to get clarification that the city, and Neil can talk later, they did not want to do some things, even though they could have, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. As it's been discussed, we're not the city and the city isn't us. So there's clear fences there and clear respect. So anyway, Jim, you've been talking about this with me a long time. Is there y'all have any, reading through them,
They're basically the same concept that we've used on other interlocal agreements that we've had absolutely zero problems with. So I don't see any issues with any of the 3 of these.
David?
I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem.
Jason?
I just have one question.
Go for it.
Who defines substantial benefit?
We would. Sole discretion.
Sole discretion.
Mhm.
Just one of those things.
No, I get it. With new board, new questions, I get it. And Paige, you've done a great job with it. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll get them executed and get them over to the city so that they can move on their part too.
Very good.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything? Did I skip something? Anybody have anything you want to pull out the consent agenda? Bills, special meeting minutes, regular meeting minutes? Motion approved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, resolutions. Okay, this is the one, Paige, y'all have your resolution sheets. Should we get these out? So this resolution is a resolution to setting the board per diem at 0 per day, allowing board members and spouses the option to also enroll in the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District Health Plan. This is one that I'd like to upfront kind of amend because age is, she's still, we've talked to some other districts, she is still not clear on the per diem and how we're going to word and construct that to bring that to the board. Another thing that I'd like packaged a little bit neater, and the wordage being accurate and making sure that we're doing it absolutely correct. But I would like to petition that out, and I guess my motion is to petition out and put that again on the March agenda and move to talk about just the enrollment in the healthcare plan for the board members alone. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of petition that out?
Aye.
We're gonna talk about that now.
In March, the fees.
I'm good.
Okay, fees in March. What I do want to talk about is the enrollment of the board into the healthcare benefits plan. Do I have a motion to discuss that?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Paige, can you explain kind of the research you found out and what you learned on that?
Yes, so section 49069 of the water code. So back up. The drainage district is regulated by several of the sections and chapters of the water code, and one of them is 49.069, which regards to benefits. If we look closely at 49069C, it reads the board may include hospitalization and medical benefits to its employees as part of the compensation paid to officers and employees, and may adopt any plan, rule, or regulation in connection with it, and amend or change the plan, rule, or regulation as it may determine. And so it's very clear to me that the board has the ability to add its officers to the health plan as it would an employee. And we would not be the only district to offer this to its officers.
What's the definition of officer?
Definition of officer is also defined in chapter 49 of the water code. And the board of directors would be included in that. Let's see. There's a lot of instances of the word officer, so. A district is created and directors have qualified. The board shall meet, elect president, vice president, secretary, any other officers or assistant officers that the board may deem necessary and begin its discharge of duties. So essentially, any of the positions on the board of directors would fit the definition of officer for the purposes of this subsection of 49.
Jason, do you have any questions about this? Any comments?
And if I may,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
resolution does in section 5, which, so if we are augmenting the resolution as it stands currently, we're sectioning out sections 2, 3, and 4, and section 5 will become the new section 2. And it does state the director in the new section 3, the director, spouses and minor children, the ability to enroll in the district's health insurance benefit plan that is available to employees. So just like the employees are able to add family members, such as the district officers as well. So treated similarly.
Limit on the value.
There is no limit on the value under chapter 49. And as y'all's attorney, if it doesn't say no, it's essentially a yes. And when it specifically carves out exceptions for officers to be on a plan, I would think that the state legislature has considered that amount of fringe benefit might exceed other limitations also in 49.
So to interpret what you said, right, we could get $7,200 annually plus health benefits.
Yes.
Some districts get more, actually. We believe me, our research has found through the water code even much more than that. That's why I'm kind of holding up on that discussion, because believe me, she has more on that, I'm sure.
I read the section of chapter 49 to be consistent with each other, and I just don't see how if you did have this fringe benefit and the other limitation also in chapter 49, that they have to talk to each other. The legislature tends to not pass things that are in conflict without saying you can't do both.
Question.
I don't know, I mean, one of the questions I have is, what are all the others doing?
Yeah.
We bring ourselves in line with what the others are doing.
Brazoria, I talked to their superintendent of BDD 4 on the phone earlier this week, they offer the health plan that's offered to employees to they call them board of commissioners, and they have 3 of them instead of 5 board of directors, but it's the same setup. And they allow their board of directors to have the same plan as their employees because of this language specifically.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure we're in line with what the law allows.
You know, I think, you know, offering benefits to board members and stuff, it just when you're talking just about healthcare, that's, and I know our county elected officials have great county benefits through the county and the Texas County Act, the TDRS, whatever it's called, Texas Counties. What's it called, Hank?
Yeah, TDRS.
Yeah, TDRS. And, you know, my son's an assistant district attorney, so I get it. But healthcare is tricky because, you know, it's one of those fringe benefits that people like to have. And it's not like, you know, does it attract maybe better through the water code's different than civil code too. Does it attract, you know, different candidates down the future? Does it help some people out, some younger candidates? Do the fees help out some people? I mean, it's all, and that's what we're learning by talking to other districts. Everybody's kind of got it structured in certain ways that they think is beneficial to represent their constituents and to bring good people in. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it depends on how you want to take care of your folks, what you can afford, and what makes sense for your district. I don't think there's a one size fits all for everybody, but I do think this is a nice thing to do and a very reasonable consideration. And probably everybody won't take advantage of it, but it's there if you want to. That's my take.
I'm good with, one of the things in business, when you hire people in business, you know, the benefits are a huge part of that package, especially if somebody has a family. So I like the idea. I think we want to attract more and better people. And as soon as I get my dike built down there and those pumps running, I'm probably gonna bail. So y'all can find somebody else and you can dangle the benefits over their head. What do you think, Jim?
Any other?
Looking down.
Okay. Any other? Thank you, Paige. Do y'all have any questions for Paige, Ken? Jason?
I follow it.
Okay. So with the modifieds, we're just talking about the benefits of the health enrollment only. So do I have a motion? Motion to approve on that only, or?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anybody? No. Okay. That's that resolution. That's 2025-01. And Paige, we make sure that's modified for signature.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Resolution 2025-02, a resolution approving the depository agreement with Amity Bank. Paige, will you read through that one quickly?
Yes, so as you and the public are aware, we've had some security breaches where we're currently having checking accounts. Our own internal policies and the state policies require us, when we do go through vendors, to go through bid processes for requests for proposals. However, because of our immediate security concerns, I do believe we have good reason to immediately change our banking institution. And then in the long term, go out through the RFP process for our depository services. However, that could take a matter of, 6 months even. And I do not believe as y'all's attorney, y'all should wait that long to move your accounts. And so I've gathered the depository agreements from Amity Bank with this resolution and those agreements, and authorizing either the board president and myself as y'all's CEO and general counsel to execute those agreements. We can get these funds moved.
Are we temporarily in a bank right now? Are we still with the?
We're still with Hometown, but the accounts are essentially frozen. And so anytime Kathy wants to write a check, she has to call them and tell them who we're writing a check to, the exact amounts. And then they release that tiny bit of amounts, which, as you can imagine, makes bill pay and payroll.
So if we approve this, it could be implemented right away.
Yes, tomorrow I'll be sending this to Steve Peters, who's our account manager of special government accounts at Amity, and then he'll be directing me to how we can open up the checking accounts, and then I'll be moving the funds as soon as possible. As part of that, I'm requiring wet signatures on depository, on all of the cards. And so y'all will be individually being reached out to by either Steve Peters or his associate. Her name's Kathy. And I believe she's already been in touch with every single one of you for information, to come in and to sign those agreements.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Jim, for moving that. All right, resolution designating Samantha Heritos as the subrecipient authorized representation to serve as the point of contact for the state and federal grant administration purposes.
Okay, so as the application process for federal grants, as you can imagine, there's a lot of what we call red tape and documents that have to be uploaded. And in order to push the buttons that say submit application, they require a resolution of this sort that essentially the board of directors has given her the permission to push those buttons. And so this is specific to federal grant application submittal.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna be riding herd on this.
I'm her supervisor, so I make sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I trust her, but I think
Two eyes is better than
two
one.
crews are better than one, yeah, as we found out. Okay, that's all I have.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
D, resolution 2025-04, resolution approving the submission of precinct 2 project applications. The deadline for submission is February 21st of 2025. It's for the Black Hawk Ant Line off Detention Engineering Design Project, Lower Clear Creek Dixon Bayou Feasibility Study, Clear Creek and Clear Lake Sedimentation Study, and the Clear Creek and Dixon Bayou Pumps and Gates Study.
So this is official resolution saying, hey, precinct 2, we want to submit these projects, and this allows us to do so. And just another piece of paper that we need to upload to the site so that we can move forward.
Let me discuss.
Make a motion. Do we need to discuss it?
You don't have
We've
to.
already, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's just.
Yeah.
You get it.
Resolution 2025-05 is a resolution adopting the indirect cost policy, and explain that, Paige, why you're doing this.
Yes, okay, so last month I put before y'all a agreement that went to A&M that said we agree to the 30% costs. Well, I heard back about a week ago from A&M's contracting department saying, actually, 30% isn't good for us. We want 54% indirect costs. Thankfully, the contracting person who's been working with us went back to them and said, that's ridiculous. They're not going to pay that. We already talked to them and said 30% costs, which was a surprise to them. What if we call it other sponsored activities or something similar to that at 32%? And I wrote back to him and I was like, I appreciate the bargaining with yourselves at 32%, but I'm still disappointed in the fact that the price keeps changing, and I feel like we're highly over something that wasn't even originally included. What can we do about this? And probably this is maybe a little bit of, baseball dugout. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but he said, well, the higher ups at the contracting, if the entity that they're working with has an internal policy regarding indirect costs, the contracting department usually accepts that and doesn't haggle too much about it. So I went around and I looked at all the other nonprofits and entities in our area, and they all have about 20% as their indirect cost policy. I looked at ones in Galveston and in Austin, and 20% was pretty uniform for the indirect costs for this sort of program. And so this is for me to come back to A&M and be like, well, actually, for your own rules, if we have a policy that says a 20%, here we go. And so that's what I'm putting before y'all today. Consistent.
They've gotten enough of our money, haven't they, Linda?
Excellent. That's great.
And your money too, and your money
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Now I'll report back if this doesn't work.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion 2025-06 is a resolution amending the criteria manual as it relates to enforcement of our civil fines. So explain this one to this page as written, please.
Okay, so unlike item I in 6, I put this as a resolution because it is doing something kind of special. It is requiring a supermajority decision to remove the section that we're adding. And I wanted that to be clear in both the district criteria manual and in our resolutions that that is what the board is choosing to do. And that it's tying its own hands as it comes to enforcement, because what we're proposing to be added is another subsection in section 4 entitled enforcement, under another subsection M that says any civil penalties assessed by the district must be disposed of before the district reviews or submits before the board of directors for approval any final drainage plans. And so as we've come to realize, there are enforcement measures throughout the district that might not have been enforced in the future or the past, but in the future that's not happening. And we're enforcing our district regulations. And as part of that, I just think it does not make sense to have outstanding fees for different projects and then for y'all to, for the district to review and then approve final drainage plans, because then we lose, why would we lose leverage? And we want people to follow the regulations.
If y'all have any questions on that, I mean, we can discuss that, but
What's a super majority?
4 to 5 of y'all. So 4 to 5 of y'all will put this in the district criteria manual, and 4 or 5 of y'all will be required to take it out.
This is the only supermajority vote in the whole board bylaws. Why do we want to do it? Why not simple majority?
I can answer that because I want to make sure that our fines and our civil fines are enforced and always collected before we give Scott the ability to review them, and then it comes to the board. I don't ever want the fines and people to go around the district and construct and get final drainage plans and final through with owing the district money. And I want to make it where it to be, and that to me, that's just common sense. Why would you have civil fines and let people go around the district and then you lose your leverage and give them a final drainage plan? I just want to make sure it's clear, and I want to make sure it's 4 out of 5 votes to pass this. But I want to make sure that in the past, long past, and they do this in Congress sometimes. I want to make sure that to undo that, to untie the hands, that people need to adjudicate their fines and clear them up before they go forward.
But you're asking for supermajority to levy the fines.
No.
Implement this in the drainage district.
No. I'm asking for a supermajority to put this in the criteria manual.
For the language, requiring a majority, a supermajority to remove such fines or that measure from.
What am I reading wrong? A supermajority vote to enact and to remove.
This measure, not fines. The fines are still levied in the normal way, but this measure that does not allow a project to move forward prior to fines being paid or taken care of.
That's not clear.
So can you?
What language would
Page.
It's pretty clear in the resolution. What are you looking at?
Agenda.
Oh, the agenda.
The agenda?
Yeah, read the resolution. And Paige,
Yes.
go ahead and clarify for Director Gibson and make sure that his concerns are absolutely taken care of. And if you have to even word it to be absolutely clear, what I want to happen is I want all fines to be cleared, adjudicated, cleared, and taken care of before our district engineer reviews final drainage plans. And therefore, it's not coming to the board until the fines are cleared. And I want a supermajority vote to add this language to the criteria manual. And in the future, I don't want a future board with me on it or not on it to be able to, that's why I want a 4 out of 5 vote just to get it on. I don't want a 4 out of 5 vote to remove that. If somebody wants to say in the future, hey, we're going to allow final drainage plans to go forward and be enacted, and we're going to chase the fines later, I want them to have a 4 or 5 vote to have to undo this, because this makes so much sense to me.
I think it's just the language in your
The agenda item,
in the agenda
subtitle.
item that maybe you could add.
If you go to end in the
Specific
middle
to
of the
the-
resolution,
language or something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of nail that down.
I believe the resolution is a bit clear.
Yes,
And if the resolution would be what you're passing, that's,
right,
yeah.
not the actual.
GCM in the middle of the
Yeah,
page.
yeah,
too.
section 2, yeah.
M is what
Any
is
civil penalty.
the heart of the matter.
Yeah. Any civil-
Yeah, Jim, you want mine? Yeah, just straight.
Okay.
Okay. And that's why I like you printing out the resolutions for everybody, because that way they don't have to fumble through the computer.
Right, well then, it also makes it easier when we're making amendments on the fly, for us to write down what we're changing, and then I can do it later and then reprint it for signature.
And listen, I know y'all, and me too, I know it's a new learning curve to get to the electronic version. And we'll never go to the electronic version until everybody on the board is absolutely comfortable. And be honest with you, I still like important resolutions printed out.
It's the legal stuff.
I like this because this is clear and we can give it to the public and they can see it. So I think both for this is important.
For the March agenda, I'm looking towards having the packet of not confidential things available to the public beforehand as well. Something that we haven't done before, but to increase transparency.
Love it.
So Jim, does that answer your concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
I
So,
just didn't want 4 in.
yeah. So everybody understands, we want to make sure lines are cleared before we allow something to
Allow
move
for a
forward.
final drainage plan.
And if we don't get 4 votes, this resolution won't pass. So anyway,
Motion to approve?
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Bam. There you go. All right. I don't see 07 on the agenda page. Is it on the agenda?
Yeah.
It's on G.
See right above 9 on page 3.
Flip over the next
Man,
one.
it must be.
Flip over. No,
You were there.
Okay. 07. I got some new information on 07 I talked to Paige about. So I'd like to, if the board will let me, I'd like to can 07 for right now. Do you have any objections on that one? And kind of, can we move that resolution page allowed if the board will allow, can we move it or can we talk more about that one? It's a resolution going to supermajority on the term stuff, but we have some new information and Jeff, other people talk to me about it, so.
It's on the agenda, so we can discuss it. You do not have to take a vote on it.
Y'all
Or
want
you want
this,
to push it
Strike,
next month?
what's the
can
language?
we just strike it for now?
Yeah.
Suspend.
Do y'all mind striking it for now?
Table it
Well, if
till
we table it, it
March.
has to come up next.
Yeah,
month.
we'll just strike it.
So strike, you can,
Yeah,
there's special language.
Yeah.
but you can also just skip over it. Just skip over.
Okay, I'll make a move to strike it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if that's.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, good. See you later. Right. Yeah, strike. Number 9, discussion reports from staff members. We can roll through these pretty quick and appreciate it. So,
Okay.
Paige, go ahead.
IBRT contract, I touched on that a little bit with the indirect costs and also earlier when we were talking with the doctor about how we're working. I'm working with the contracting department on an overarching contract between the district and IDRT so that when we add proposals to it, it's easy and we don't have to go through the contracting program every single time. And so that should be on the March agenda. We're really excited about that. Second item, introduction of Superintendent Randy Rowland. Today is day 2. So as we all know, it's my belief that Joseph Anderson was understaffed and overloaded. And so in order to fully get everything we need to get done, we needed more people. And Randy is taking on, I think, at least 40 to 50% of what Joseph was doing, especially as overseeing the Department of, what I call it, like Department of Public Works, which is our guys in the back who go out and they're doing the mowing, they're doing the dirt work, we're supervising our contractors, and also being my eyes and ears there, but also working with me on project management, on budgeting. And I think we're just gonna be a really great team. Randy, do you have any words you want to say? I kind of threw you on the spot there.
No, I don't have anything to say. But thank you. I think it's going to be exciting.
Really excited to work with you. And then barrel recovery with FEMA. Sam says there's a meeting in 2 weeks, slowly moving forward, lots of data entering work. As y'all know, one of the reasons I'm pushing really hard for project management software and updating and going 21st century on a lot of things is because of stuff like this. So when FEMA came in, they wanted to see things like work tickets, equipment uses, and receipts and invoices, and how much gas was used, and where the GPS data of where the trees were down, and we just didn't have all of that readily available. The work tickets from the crew leads are on like, it almost looks like a restaurant receipt, where people have been writing things down and then submitting it, filing it in a cabinet in the back. You know, if we had a fire or water damage, we would lose decades worth of our work and all of our notes, and we wouldn't be able to get like $1 million back from FEMA for disaster recovery for burial, which I'm thinking we're going to be able to do. And so we're slowly moving forward on that, and we'll have more information on that on March. Grants update. With all of the precinct 2 applications being due February 21st, those have been the priority. If we apply for the elevation project or any part of the master drainage plan, those will be submitted in March. And those will be ready to go then, if y'all choose to move forward with those. Audit update. Ms. Cassidy Grace.
Yes, I'm still working on the audit. Luckily, I haven't heard from him in a few days. That's good. And I'm still working on new hires and the benefits and all that. And we're going to have a meeting with our special operations insurance for government entities next week.
And what's the audit, generally speaking, when is it usually finished?
It'll probably be in April's. It should be finished by the March, and then they'll do their presentation in April.
And we're on track for that. Or we have no reason to believe it won't happen as usual.
Anything can happen.
Okay.
We're shooting for April.
Yeah. I have no reason to believe from Whitley Penn that it's not proceeding as usual. Upcoming public survey regarding elevation and floodproofing projects. So that is part of the go back to the hazard mitigation plan materials that y'all approved earlier. So there's some interesting public surveys that will be going out to the public and seeing if there is greater range of interest for projects like those, so we can conglomerate them into a bigger thing, which we love doing that. And then building updates, broadcasting equipment quotes. I've gotten one quote back already regarding, so y'all asked for microphones. Microphones tie into, and y'all have to give me a little bit of grace for this because I'm a lawyer and not tech, a person, but my husband is. So he's kind of walked me through what the things mean. The microphones can connect to receivers, which connect to mixing devices that mix the audio and the video together. And to update one, you kind of have to update the other one. And so it's not so simple as connecting microphones to that thing, because that thing just kind of works independently with the video. And so if you want to do one, you have to do the other. And it's kind of a systemic approach. And so because of the price of that initial quote, I'm getting 2 more quotes because it's significant. It was over 40 grand. And so I'm getting more quotes together because I believe that y'all need a professional look. But that's something that y'all asked for microphones and I'm working on.
I don't even like that bad.
No,
Right. So I'm looking at other options as well to scale down to fit our needs. Building security and technological security. We've gotten the cards to open the doors for all of our staff and for the board of directors. They've been programmed, but now the next step is printing. We ordered a printer because it takes a special printer to print on the cards. So that way, when we hand them to you, it says GCCDD or GCCDD and the name of the person and where it should go if it's been found, so that we know that once it's down on the ground, that it belongs to Paige and not to Kathy, and we don't have just random cards laying around. So those are coming in the next couple of weeks and will be issued to y'all. Furniture acquisition and repairs. Friday morning, we're having a service come in from ChemDry to clean all the carpets and all the furniture that is upholstered because it's never been done before. And as y'all know, this furniture is older than 10 years. And so that's something that needs to be done for health and safety. And so Friday morning, if y'all come in between 9 and 11, the chairs will be wet. And so I recommend not coming during that time period. And I'm working with staff to figure out where we can be during that time period so that everybody's, not sitting on wet chairs. And then painting. I got a quote back for painting the hallways, the conference room. There's some back doors in the shop, and some repairs that's being needed back there. That quote also came in way larger than expected, and so I'm getting more quotes for that, and I'll bring it back to you. Some of those things I might piece out separately and get done quicker. There's a door back there that is in need for security purposes to be repaired more immediately. So I'm on that as well. Software acquisitions, I've had meetings with budgeting software as well as bookkeeping software, project management software, and I'm going to work with Randy and with Samantha to make recommendations to the board of what we need and get it implemented so that we can get our foundations laid. But I'm just moving all of those things. And then the map update, Samantha worked with Scott this week, and we are printing it, and we'll bring it for board input and hang it on the wall. And so it should be here March.
Very good. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
District engineer's report, Scott.
One question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Excuse me. How does the public that has business with us get in the front door?
I've had it unlocked.
So free access now.
Essentially, yes, I don't love that. The doorbell part of it, as you can see, the Joseph says doorbell under construction. When they ordered the doorbell parts, it has two ways for the doorbell to ring. One on a device, and then the person with the device can open the door after seeing who's at the door. And the second is for it to ring in just the building like a ding-dong doorbell. The component to go to the device, it needs a phone specific. And so we have to order, I'm already ordering district phones for myself, for Randy, for Kathy, and Samantha, because I don't want that software to be on personal devices, because it's my policy that if I have access to a personal device, to be able to backdoor into it for security purposes, I don't want that on personal devices, mine or yours. And so that's something that's in the works. And then they didn't order the component that rings out into the building. And so we're also having to order that component and get it installed. So it's a surprisingly multi-step process that I've inherited, that I am fixing. But once that's all installed, people who come up will be able to ring the doorbell, will be able to come up and open the door. I mean, during the day, between 8 and 4, it's usually Kathy, myself, and Samantha. So 3 women alone in an office. I don't love that. I mean, I do concealed carry most of the time, but I don't believe everybody does. But there is that.
Any questions? All right, Scott.
Sure. Got several reviews going on. Got the Wilderness Trails Drainage Impact Analysis review from Gannett Flemings and from myself out today, along with the preliminary plan review. Obviously, one of the comments on the preliminary plan was that it won't be approved until the DIA is approved. So they've got that back in their court to address those comments. Been working with Derek on transferring our process to electronic signatures. We ran into a little hiccup, almost had it set up for Paige and I to do preliminary plans, and eventually for the board members to sign electronically too on the approved final plans. But there's a maximum file size of 10 megs for the Adobe sign. So he's having to upgrade us to an enterprise account with Adobe, and that's going to allow us to do a larger file size. Most of these plan sets are 20, 30, 40, 50 megs in size. So I tried to work around where I just ripped out the cover sheet, had it signed, and I was going to stick it back in there with Bluebeam review, but the file was locked once it was signed, which is right. That way you can't modify it, right? Move it over to a plain set, somebody else. So Derek's working on upgrading the subscription so we could do that. So I'm looking forward to that. Kind of getting away from the paper copies on the large format. At my office, our protocol is to scan everything in with our large format printer and catalog it, put it in the computer. That way, I mean, these plans take up a lot of room, right? Take up a lot of room. I know the district has a whole room in the back of years of plans. So, what else?
The other districts are already electronic signatures.
100%. Majority of them are, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's better for us, for the developers, for homeowners, for public information act requests, for state governments and other entities to find things and to keep things. That way people aren't having to bring by and schedule a time to bring by and to print these expensive pieces of paper just for them to then get scanned and recycled. And it's just something that we recommend doing. But until we have the system perfect, we're not gonna implement it.
I agree.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Scott, sorry.
So again, working on proposals for looking at a piece of property in Dixon Bayou watershed for the district. Just waiting to hear back from the geotech and then we should be able to get those proposals over for the overall project and go from there. Other than that, there's, it's been a busy couple months here. With Joseph retiring, kind of took up some of this slack, tried to assist staff. So there's been a lot of meetings. One thing I do like, we do have a weekly staff meeting at 11, and kind of make sure that everybody's on the same page as we move forward through the week. So that's been nice the past couple of weeks. So.
Hey, if the city signs off on the interlocals, how fast will we have something to go on to look at that we can talk to the board about moving forward?
You've got the proposals for Clearview and,
Right,
and
we have that.
and Deepwood already. Both of those, I just reported those that sent to Joseph. You've got those proposals. The board's been sitting on them, trying to figure out what was going to go on. We wanted the interlocals to be executed before we engage spending money on that.
So the answer is fairly quickly on those two.
Correct.
What about Frenchman's Creek, if they sign that one also?
Haven't got any proposals from anybody on that yet. We've kind of been in limbo on what exactly we wanted to do there. So if the board has a vision, I'll start that process as well.
Will you go ahead and put that in the queue?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Anticipating, so we can evaluate and move forward with that.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, I want to welcome Randy. Look forward to working with you. Worked really close with Joseph for years on the private side, and was blessed enough about 3 years ago to come on as a district engineer. And sorry to see him retire and leave, but I'm looking forward to working with you. So.
Thank you, Scott. City Council liaison is not here. Does he want to talk?
I've got plenty of texts if you want. Real quick, I'll leave it.
Very.
Councilman Griffon had a flat. He couldn't make it tonight, so 2 points. He just wanted to make sure that we got as much of the free information as we could from Friendswood and spent our 400 grand wisely elsewhere. He said you probably hit on this. He mentioned the $27 million project, of which 10 million came from the state on the Whitcomb detention and terracing project. City Council approved the first 2.85 million for engineering at the previous meeting. The 2.85 is not allocated from TERS 1, while there is money being spent for detention and terracing from the city center project.
And with that, you can transition Hill to city engineer report.
Yeah, so I'll add on to that. So we had the kickoff meeting for the master drainage plan last week. We're working on getting a schedule. As soon as we get some good dates, we'll get with Scott and Samantha to visit with y'all for a one-on-one stakeholder meeting as well. Clear Creek Utility Bridge. That's the utility bridge over beside Poly Ranch. Finally gonna kick that off. Also, the pre-construction meeting is gonna be happening on Thursday. And also wanted to share that at their last meeting, the San Jacinto River Flood Planning Group appointed me as a voting member representing the small municipalities. So we're going to, or I'll be playing a role in the regional flood plan that will be updated in 2029. So
amp it up.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Good job. We saw that city the other night. So we're expecting to amp it up, Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look forward to hearing what Samantha and Scott have to say on that, on what the priorities you have. And want to make sure that these projects, these CIP projects that you develop over the next couple of years we're making sure that, they're making it into the, state flood plan so that it opens up, potential, future opportunities for funding as well.
That's something that Hank's working on with us. Okay, yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay, thank you, Hill. No P and Z, but we do have Matt with the City of League City.
Good evening, everybody. Just an update on development in League City, Westland Ranch. Just last week, I accepted section 6A and 6B of Lakes of Westland Ranch. So that's on the southern portion of their development. That's the plats that you approved this evening. And then adjacent to that section is the Magnolia Bayou Drive South, which is essentially complete. TxDOT, the TxDOT portion of that roadway just got completed. I believe it was early last week. The only reason I haven't accepted that roadway yet is because there's some minor housekeeping items that they're needing to address as far as some stop sign stuff. The striping hasn't been completed, and then some cleanup kind of stuff, some grading. So that should be. I'm hoping that'll be accepted maybe next week or sometime close to then. Westland Ranch Section 10 should be their next effort, which will be on the northern portion of the development. And then as far as the legacy development, they're aggressively moving forward. Lots of roadways, multiple sections, lots of utilities being installed. We are just full disclosure. I know a portion of Friendswood has been adversely seeing some sedimentation and some effects of the construction. In conversation with Hill, trying to be good neighbors and enforce that as much as we can. So just want to let you guys know that we're aware and we're trying to do our part. But I think that's all I've got, unless you guys got any questions or concerns for us.
I want you to make sure, Matt, if you would, that you take Randy under your wing if he has a chance to reach out and ride around with you maybe, or here in this next month, maybe several times, and just make sure he's riding with Daryl and with Shannon, and also with Scott. He's dealing with Dave. But I want to make sure that you kind of shepherd him through anything in League City that you might find unique, or the things you're talking about. Just to make sure he has a full understanding of where the problems are, where the challenges are, what's going on out there, where the new sections are coming up, all that stuff.
Sure.
It's just since he's a new superintendent, it's important that he knows every blade of grass in the district.
Open door policy over here, so feel free to share my contact info with them, and any way I can help.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry for the long meeting.
No problem.
It won't all be this long.
No,
I appreciate it. Okay, Board of Directors report. Mr. Gibson.
I'd like to thank Samantha, Shannon, and Paige for the good job they did at Touch a Truck this Saturday. City sponsored the Touch a Truck. They had all sorts of vehicles there, first responder vehicles, dump trucks, backhoes, cranes, and the little kids got a real thrill out of it.
And 3,000 attendants there.
So wow, I guess that. That's funny. I guess that. That's unbelievable.
And they represent the district very well. Glad to get the interlocal agreements approved. And I'd like to welcome Randy.
Dave. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. I just want to say welcome to Randy. I think Paige has hit the ground running. I like it. We got all the balls in the air, it seems, right now. We're attacking this thing on multi fronts. I'd like to thank my fellow board members, Jim, Kim, Jason, and especially Rusty for taking the lead on kind of a hands-on temporary CEO until you get up to speed. Of course, we had, Joseph leaving. There's been a lot of things come up, theft of the funds and all that, but I think we're working our way through it. And I'm just excited to see all the grants we're going after. This part's fun for me. So we'll get through the setbacks. But anyway, you're doing a great job and I appreciate your expertise. So, thank you. Thank you, Rusty. Yep.
Welcome, Randy. We're excited to have you. Paige, you're doing an amazing job. Scott, thank you for taking up what some of Joseph was having to do. And I like that we're hitting the ground running this year. So just love everybody. You never know what can happen from one day to the next. We lost a fellow citizen in the city of Friendswood yesterday, and my heart and thoughts and prayers go out to that family. So hug your loved ones.
Yes.
Communication is free. And when we all freely communicate, we can achieve amazing things. So I really appreciate the hard work that everyone here does. I welcome you on board. Additionally, wanted to congratulate James Toney and Parks and Rec for the touch truck. That was awesome. If they do it again, they may need to have it at stadium. We need more parking. That was crazy how many people showed up. And finally, I will be seeing you Saturday morning at Baybrook Baptist Church for the Friendswood Care Breakfast.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it. Touch a Truck was killer. It really was. I mean, Hank, I don't know if that Touch a Truck at Friendswood, that was one of the best things. He was freaked out. He couldn't believe any people there. I turned the corner with Randy and I almost missed the turn. I was thinking airport, of course, but I almost missed it. And then we turned and we were like, I don't think we're parking here. That place was insane. The kids were insane. Paige and Samantha took the bull by the horns, got all kinds of trucks and stuff, and ran a raffle ticket. So that was really nice to see just have an impact. I'm still amazed. I have a really good board. The questions, and I'm sorry for the long meeting, were excellent. I'm glad, Jim, we got the interlocals done. I look forward to seeing, Scott, those projects and what we can do, make an impact. That's at a small level, Hank. I really look forward to working with Hank and with Jeff Berry, with Mays Middleton. Bree was here tonight. I think she had a bell. I think she got tired, but with Randy Weber, with all of us together, pushing from Pearland and Harris County up their hill, City of Friendswood, City of League City, which we lived at this week. We were there a bunch this week with Baumgardner, with the mayor, with you, Hank, a bunch. You were driving that forward. You're out Harris County Flood Control. We got a lot of balls in the air. And I don't want to get bogged down, but the elephant one bout at a time. And we need to take it one step at a time, not get too crazy. But I really like the direction we're going with our local projects and keeping our eye on the ball on the long-term projects that make a difference. Our partners in that effort are paramount. So thanks again to that. I think Paige and Randy and Scott are just Samantha, our secretary Kathy, but really I'm so excited about Paige and Randy and Scott and Samantha working together. Those are 4 smart people. You're joining a smart group of 3. And thank y'all for y'all's professional approach. The modernization and the professionalism of the district was always my #1 goal, and y'all are exceeding my expectations. I know it's going to take time to gel and to learn, but I'm very proud of y'all. And I hope the board is too. And that's all I have to say. Thank y'all. With that, I'm going to read it this time. We will, and this thing, quick, guys. The board of directors will conduct a closed meeting in order to seek the advice of the attorney about pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offers, or any matter in which duty of the attorney of the district under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct, State Bar, Texas Code that conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act or Texas Government Code 551-071 for legal issues concerning any item listed on today's posted agenda. We will go into closed session.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, kind of man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Can you freeze that page? Turn this on.
Thanks for staying.
Hey, how
See you.
was the show? What? How was it? No. You just want to talk about that. Sure.
How you doing?
Okay. So let's go. Oddly.
Samantha, are you mastering?
There's no nice things. But yeah.
Phone number,
Yeah,
email,
I'd like to see it.
she's the point person for that, and she's the coordinator. Okay, that's nice. And we probably by 20 notice, especially if she's sick, for the about for next HOA meeting, that's something that, I think would be great to do, at the HOA meeting.
on, up the feet.
Martin delivered the board package to you, whatever.
I motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
You want me, Jason?
All's in favor?
Aye. Jason abstaining.
Oh.